a couple of quick ones. When you're doing side chains, when you're remaking side chains with low end stuff, what are you using? Are you using a trigger? Are you using on a particular compressor? Are you nudging things? How do you? It's a question that a lot of people have. There are multiple people asking about side chains. Yeah. So, do you have a particular method? Do you think it matters? Maybe it doesn't.
I haven't side chained in a long time. So my percentage of side chaining is probably like less than 5%.
But sometimes you will side chain frequency, multiband dynamics to different instruments. You'll do things like that.
Not as much anymore because of dynamic EQ.
Okay.
So no.
But dynamic EQ, will you use an external trigger for that? Will you trigger things to each other? Not really at all.
No, very rarely. I used to get more. I just used to be a lot more geeky, and then by being geeky, I found out what worked, and then the things that didn't work just took a back seat. And okay, so some people.
By the way, that's a very important point. We talked about a little earlier that learn all the techniques, so then you can learn how they all work, and then learn the simplest, best version for you. Yeah.
So check this out. Like we've all done this. I've done this a lot. You're in a dense mix and there's a lot of upper mid range in keyboards. So you'll trigger a keyboard or a keyboard bus to the vocal. So when the vocal comes in, it kind of pushes the keyboards back.
Yep.
And so on, and come back and forth. Maybe when the vocal isn't there anymore, the keyboards jump up. Well, we can do that with a lot of other techniques that have a lot more feel to it, like play the part around the vocal better, like right from the top, right? So arrangement, right? We're always talking about arrangement. So
yes, we are.
Better arrangement. Then also that area of the keyboard might just not want to be there, and it might not want to be there dynamically. So when they're playing up in the high keyboards, as we talked about 2 weeks ago or last week, whenever that was, dynamic EQ, it comes up, it controls the top, so the vocal takes a second. Now he's playing lower, she's playing lower, and it changes and it goes. So it's always living and always alive. I don't feel the need to sidechain from a certain trigger point because of that new technique that is in every EQ plugin probably recently that's come out.
Yep, I think that's right. I'll just say,
but if I'm going to do a low end sidechain, because this conversation is low end specific.
Yep.
I like the sound of the Soft Tubes Tube Tech CL1B. This is the only time anybody will ever hear me say they like a CL1B. I hate that compressor out of the box, but in plugin form, only for sidechaining, for nothing else, just for sidechaining. I like how the slowest, the fastest release, how that sounds. It's not super fast, and it has some musicality to it. So I like that plugin to trigger off a kick for low end when I do it, which is less than 5% of the time.
So generally, you're using dynamic EQ on a specific thing in a frequency range. If instead of triggering something to duck out, that makes a lot of sense. I for the producers, I use LFO tool. I'll use a click trigger for sidechain. There's a lot of ways to do it.
LFO tool when you want to get that pump.
Yeah, and you can just design it a certain way. But there's lots of plugins, and I'll just trigger something with a click with whatever the Ableton compressor. There's a lot of ways to do it.
Yeah, right. Ableton compressor sounds great for sidechaining when you're in Ableton. Yeah.